Canada, the land of maple syrup, hockey, and politeness, becomes the 51st state of the United States. A bold idea, but one that former President Donald Trump has floated repeatedly, sparking heated debates across North America. Could this audacious plan ever become reality? Donald Trump has never shied away from controversy or grandiose ideas. From his rhetoric on trade wars to his claims of reshaping global politics, his suggestion to annex Canada is perhaps one of his most provocative proposals yet. While some dismiss it as political posturing, others see it as a calculated move with far-reaching implications for economics, geopolitics, and national identity. This video delves into the details of Trump's plan, its motivations, the reactions it has provoked, and the potential consequences. Donald Trump's repeated comments about annexing Canada have been framed as an economic and strategic necessity for creating a unified North America. He argues that merging the two nations would eliminate tariffs, reduce taxes for Canadians, and bolster military security along the northern border. In his words, the only thing that makes sense is for Canada to become our cherished 51st state. This vision is part of a broader narrative where Trump sees a unified North America as a powerful economic and military bloc capable of competing more effectively against rising global powers like China and Russia. Trump has pointed to the $200 billion annual trade deficit with Canada as justification for annexation. He claims this figure represents an economic subsidy that Americans should no longer bear. By absorbing Canada, Trump believes the U.S. could secure access to its vast natural resources, including critical minerals essential for technology and renewable energy systems. This strategic move would also enhance U.S. influence in the Arctic region, which is becoming increasingly important due to climate change and new shipping routes. Furthermore, Trump has suggested that many Canadians would welcome this change, citing economic benefits and enhanced security as key advantages. However, this assertion has been met with skepticism by Canadian leaders and citizens alike, who view it as an underestimation of their national pride and commitment to sovereignty. In Trump's view, a unified North America would not only strengthen economic ties, but also create a more cohesive political entity. He envisions a future where the U.S. and Canada operate under a single governance structure, eliminating the need for separate diplomatic missions and international negotiations. While this idea might appeal to some as a way to streamline trade and security, it raises significant questions about the preservation of Canadian identity and autonomy. Critics argue that Trump's vision overlooks the complexities of integrating two distinct nations with different social policies, healthcare systems, and cultural values. Despite these challenges, Trump remains convinced that a unified North America would be a powerful force on the global stage, capable of asserting U.S. dominance in trade, security, and geopolitics. Canada's immense natural resource wealth is a cornerstone of Trump's annexation rhetoric, as it represents a significant economic opportunity for the United States. In 2022, Canada's natural resource assets were valued at an astounding $2 trillion, with energy resources alone accounting for $1 trillion, nearly two-thirds of the total value. This includes crude bitumen, crude oil, natural gas, and coal, which are essential to global energy markets. Crude bitumen alone contributed $861 billion, making it the top contributor to Canada's resource wealth in 2022. Trump has emphasized that gaining control over these assets would ensure the U.S. dominance in critical energy and mineral supply chains. Mineral resources also play a pivotal role in Canada's economy, with potash, iron, nickel, copper, and uranium among the most valuable. Potash alone accounted for 42% of the mineral sector's value in 2022 due to rising global demand for fertilizers. Canada is recognized globally as a leader in mining, hosting advanced projects for rare earth elements and lithium materials vital for clean energy technologies like electric vehicles and wind turbines. Trump's plan leverages these resources to position the U.S. as a leader in the clean energy transition while reducing reliance on competitors like China and Russia. Natural resources contribute significantly to Canada's GDP, directly accounting for 14.6% and indirectly adding another 4.6% in 2022. These sectors support nearly 1.6 million jobs nationwide, including direct and indirect employment in energy, mining, forestry, and agriculture. For Trump, annexing Canada would not only secure access to these resources, but also integrate a robust workforce into the U.S. economy. Canada's timber sector further highlights its economic importance, with assets valued at $442 billion in 2022. Although timber saw a slight decline in value due to reduced sales in the wood product industry, it remains a critical component of Canada's export portfolio. Trump has argued that integrating Canada's forestry industry into the U.S. economy would enhance competitiveness and reduce costs for American manufacturers. Additionally, Canada's natural resource exports are vital to its economy, representing more than half of all goods and services traded internationally. The country relies heavily on these exports to sustain its economic health. Trump has pointed out that annexation would eliminate trade barriers and tariffs between the two nations, creating a seamless flow of goods and services that benefits both economies. However, critics argue that this economic strategy risks destabilizing bilateral relations. Imposing tariffs on Canadian imports to pressure its economy could lead to retaliatory measures that harm interconnected supply chains critical to both nations. Despite these concerns, Trump frames annexation as a mutually beneficial solution to address trade imbalances and secure long-term resource access. Beyond economics, Trump's plan reflects broader geopolitical ambitions. Former White House advisor Steve Bannon described it as part of a strategy for hemispheric control, pointing to the Arctic's growing importance in global politics. Climate change is opening new shipping routes and resource opportunities in the region, making Canada's northern territories strategically valuable. Annexing Canada would also double the size of U.S. territory, elevating its geopolitical influence and positioning it as a dominant global power. However, such a move could provoke international backlash and complicate relations with allies like NATO members. Unsurprisingly, Trump's proposal has been met with strong resistance from Canadian leaders and citizens alike. Former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau warned that no political party or leader in Canada would ever relinquish sovereignty under economic coercion. Newly elected Prime Minister Mark Carney reinforced this sentiment, stating unequivocally that Canada would never become part of the U.S. Indigenous groups have also voiced their opposition. The Confederacy of Treaty, no. 6 First Nations emphasized that Canadian land is sovereign under treaty agreements and rejected any attempts at annexation as offensive and wrong. Public opinion polls show overwhelming opposition among Canadians, with over 73% rejecting the idea outright. In the United States, reactions to Trump's plan are mixed. Some Republicans support his vision of expanding American territory to secure resources and strengthen national security. However, many Democrats have expressed concern about the feasibility and ethical implications of such a move. Legislation like the No Invading Allies Act has been introduced to prevent military operations aimed at annexing allied nations without congressional approval. Critics argue that absorbing Canada would shift America's political landscape leftward due to differences in social policies and public attitudes. Furthermore, integrating Canada into the U.S. would require significant changes to congressional representation and governance structures, a logistical challenge that could weaken existing states' influence. While Trump envisions a seamless merger between Canada and the U.S., numerous obstacles stand in the way. Political resistance, Canadian leaders across party lines have united against annexation efforts. Legal barriers, international treaties protect Canadian sovereignty. Public opinion, Canadians overwhelmingly oppose becoming part of the United States. Economic risks. Tariff wars could harm both economies rather than facilitate integration. Geopolitical consequences. Annexation could strain relations with allies and provoke global backlash. Moreover, any attempt at forced annexation, whether through economic coercion or military action, would likely lead to conflict rather than cooperation. Trump's proposal to annex Canada is undoubtedly bold, but fraught with challenges. While it highlights strategic interests in trade and resources, it risks alienating one of America's closest allies and destabilizing regional dynamics. For Canadians, this idea represents an existential threat to their sovereignty and identity. For Americans, it raises complex questions about governance, integration, and international relations. As debates continue to unfold, one thing remains clear. Trump's bold plan has reignited discussions about nationalism, sovereignty, and global power dynamics in ways few could have anticipated. Smash the like button and subscribe for more content like this on The People's Brief. We'll keep you updated on the latest developments in global politics and beyond. Join the conversation and stay informed.